Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way as a dog howls in the background. But I want to welcome my co-host, Lucky Stone, and our special guest, Dalibor Suchy. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes.
My pleasure.
And tonight we're going to be talking about, this the consciousness of a new world. And what is the consciousness of a new world? It's done by philosophers and mystics and thinkers. Potential future for humanity. The hidden reality beyond the senses. A higher consciousness that's been hidden by secret societies. Advancements in humanity inch closer to the state of absolute awareness. Well, at that point, we try to self-overcome. Humans are perpetually in a state of becoming always and striving to transcend into the current state, coming from external challenges, which we all know of, but are more crucially about confronting the mastering the inner conflicts, the desires, and their fears. They're being a creator of one's own life. And that's what a lot of people miss. There's social norms to live up to, religions and dogmas and inherent values. Well, we want individuals to craft their own values, to be sculptors of their own destinies. Potential of an individual to divine their own lives. And that's what our show is about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We have to say about that.
Well, see, unfortunately, a lot of that's not determined by high-minded, well-meaning men of good repute. Unfortunately, a lot of that is dictated by the media. The media, which is just the handmaiden of the state and of the capitalist system in general. In other words, most of the ideologies that we believe in today are actually foisted upon us for the sake of profit, because it suits somebody. That's why.
Yes, that is so true. We are captured, like I said, in the end, then, we're captured by our culture, religions, the things outside, the advertisements and everything. And we're sculpted into a being that's not of high quality. I hate to say it, but there's not high quality individuals out there. I want to believe that, but in order to be a high quality individual, Dalibor, you have to be kind of like you, kind of a recluse, not listening to everything, kind of in your own little world, because if you get that influence, you're out there falling into the hole, the sports we were just talking about earlier before the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're falling into, getting the Netflix and the TV and what's the propaganda going on in the world, instead of living our own lives, we need to live our lives and make and create our own destiny, but we're letting everybody else do it through manipulation. And therefore, I do believe we're not really going on that higher conscious journey anymore. We are going backwards. That's
because modern society is becoming less individualistic. Actually, it's becoming more and more collectivist, whether we like it or not. And it's all because of mass media. Because in the past, media, like, let's say, movies, well, they didn't exist, but instead we had plays. And in order for these players or actors to get any exposure, they had to travel from place to place because you didn't have broadcast media. So that meant that they were itinerant or wanderers, basically. They were kind of like gypsies. They didn't stay in one place. They had to travel. They were on the same social level as circus performers, who, for the same reason, had to travel so that they could exhibit their art form to as many different people as they possibly could. So it was only with the advent of modern technology that things like media could actually come about where the industry could concentrate in one spotlight, let's say Hollywood, and broadcast out of there. Um, the reason why a lot of world thinking is dominated by Hollywood is because it's the biggest industry, the biggest media conglomerate there is. Like, for example, in Europe, each of the countries of Europe has its own like version of Hollywood, but except the market share, even within each of those individual countries of the individual Hollywoods for all the different countries, is so small that it's not even dominant in their own country. That's why, like, most of the movies that you'll watch on like German TV or Czech TV or whatever are American. For like it or not, American media dominates the culture, and most people's worldview is actually shaped by what they see on the television, because the subconscious mind can't differentiate between what it sees as fiction and what's presented to it as reality. So if you're presented with some kind of, let's say, a moral dilemma in say the plot of a movie, well, you become an unwitting participant in that movie and you react accordingly. And since the creators or the writers behind these movies, they know what reaction the viewer is gonna have to it. So it is a pre-planned, concerted effort at public manipulation of opinions.
Yeah. Lucky, have you fallen into the multimedia capture and what Dalibor was saying? Have you because we I think we all have, but have you fallen into that?
I mean, we all have to in some point, but my problem is that I don't watch any news at all. And yesterday there was a big storm coming through, branches down and wind and high. I had no idea. There was a big rainstorm coming through, because I don't watch the news. And all I know is that I hear, oh, it's going to rain tomorrow. There's so much percentage of rain. I mean, I do have an app on my phone that tells me the wind. It's actually for sailing, but I keep it just so I know what, if I have to go kayaking, I'll know what my conditions are like. But I never use it because, again, I'll only look if I know if I'm going kayaking. But yeah, no, I don't watch the news. I'm rarely manipulated by it. I mean, the political stuff, I want no part of it. I said one point that they were complaining about each other about the different candidates. Who cares what their names are? And I said, to me, it's like you're arguing about if Caligula or Nero was a more fair leader of Rome. I think I didn't say fair. I said I said, is Caligula or Nero a more compassionate? Yeah, Caligula or Nero a more compassionate leader of Rome? That's what your arguments are like, because they complain about each of the candidates, but I don't think they're any different. I think they're the same. No matter who is standing in the Republican or Democrat, it's the same people. They're just, they're all sponsored by the same big corporations.
They all wear the same clothes. I mean, all the men wear exactly the same clothes. They all wear the business suit, right, with the leash.
Yeah.
Well, and that is so true. True. The big thing is that like you said, I heard one guy say recently something on that order, and it's like with the Democrats, you're going to die fast, or your rights are going to be taken away fast, and with the Republicans, it's going to be just a little bit slower. So that's the choices you got. It's like, so either way, you end up in the boiling pot of water, but one's going to be a little faster and the other one's going to just be a little bit slower.
See, the other thing I would say about the media is, I would say that back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it was a lot more controlled because you had a lot fewer channels of access to information. If you just look at the TV, back in the 70s, before people got cable TV, most people had 13 channels on their TV. That was it, right? And those are all regulated by the FCC. Nowadays, with YouTube, you have millions of channels, right? You have millions of sources of it. With Twitter, you have billions of sources of information that you can be exposed to independently of each other. So you have a lot more choice, and if you exercise reason and discrimination, you can pretty much sift through the rubble and figure out what's true and what's not true.
Yeah. That this is true. I mean, I listen to the news probably way more than both of you guys. I listen to, constantly and try to get updates and see what's going on. But then I get there and I wonder, what do I believe here? Is it really true what they're saying? You got one guy saying, like I was asking you, the Czech Republic, they're going to cut off the gas lines there. Well, then you're saying, but they got other gas lines. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. They never said that. They were like, they made it out to be there's only one gas line and they're going to cut it off.
No, there's many different gas lines leading into Czech Republic, not just from the east, but also from the north and the south. So although it's the ultimate source is still going to be from Russia, it's going to go through different countries that are each going to charge their own little markup. So all it means is that it's just going to be a little bit more expensive than it was last year, which was a little bit more expensive than it was the year before. But all in all, I mean, I'm paying through the roof. I'm paying like 260 euros a month for gas. And during the winter, I shut off half the apartment, so I'm actually heating only one room and a bathroom, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm still paying 260 euros a month for that, for the heat and for the hot water, because I have a gas water heater. So then that's exorbitant. And electricity, I'm paying 55 euro cents a kilowatt, which, based on my information from one of my friends, he pays like 5 cents a kilowatt. So I'm paying 11 times as much for electricity as you guys. So, people tell me, oh, you like want to look into getting an electric car. Bullshit. I'm only paying 4 times as much for gasoline as you guys are, but I'm paying 11 times as much for electricity as you guys are. So for me, that's why you never see a Tesla here on the streets of Germany. It just doesn't pay. It doesn't make economic sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they are pushing the solar panels, but as I hear, the solar panels will pay them for themselves in 15 to 20 years. The solar panels aren't lasting more than 10 years. So that's the problem, is they don't tell you the whole story, because that's a friend of mine was telling me, and they're not recyclable. They're useless, hazardous waste because you can't do anything with them. So yeah, it's about the green agenda is not about saving the earth. It's just about shuffling money from a different corporation.
True.
Hell, I'm into the reptile industry. I'm big in that, and the EPA is fighting the reptile industry because we have these light bulbs that are used. They're incandescent because they use it to heat up the enclosure. They give certain kinds of light waves, and they also give heat. Well, the EPA wants, basically, the government says get rid of incandescent bulbs for specialty bulbs, but because the reptile industry is selling so many bulbs, they become less of a specialty, more of a commodity. So the EPA wants to stop the selling of these bulbs that are crucial for the lives of these reptiles. And it's like one of the weirdest things, because they don't care about the reptiles. All they care about is, wait, we have rules and we can enforce them because they're not, the government gave them leeway and now they can make all the rules that they want. It's so strange. Government is crazy.
See, on paper, solar power sounds like a good idea. It sounds, very democratic. Like, theoretically, everybody, even a 5-year-old kid, can go out and buy himself a solar panel and produce his own electricity. Except, as you pointed out, the life cycle of these panels isn't all that great. The efficiency isn't all that great. I figure, yes, I probably could satisfy all my electricity needs if I coated every single square meter of my roof with solar panels, except that, that doesn't really make sense for me, because I'd have to get a new roof first, right? You can't get a solar system above your roof if your roof needs changing. So first I'd have to change the roof and then get a solar system on top of that.
Yep. It's also that they don't tell you, but the solar industry is way behind. They should be way ahead. Their technology should be much better, but they make crap. The
Mhm.
solar panels are made in China. The ones that made in the United States or in better countries, they're not made there. All the parts are made in China and shipped over here to put together. So in China, those people are just paid to produce. They're not paid well, so they're not going to be quality. They're just going to okay, I'm going to do my job. So only ones who are making money are the corporations. The corporation money because they're expensive. All these things are expensive because people are getting paid. The government pays for these solar panels to be put in people's houses, so the corporations are making big money.
Mhm.
There's a hospital that I went into that it cost a hell of a lot for my health care because of the insurance and everything. They're going bankrupt, and I'm like, they charge money hand over fist. Why are they going bankrupt? Because of the bureaucracy. Because they have so
Mhm.
much bureaucracy in order to shift the papers, in order to request money from the insurance company, and then the insurance company denies it, and they reshuffle them. It costs so much to do that they're going bankrupt because they can't afford it, and of course they need all these upper level people, the president of the hospital, and then so the town Massachusetts government is like, it's okay. The hospital's not going to shut down. Them going bankrupt gives us the option to come in and run this place right. Of course, this is government. Government's not going to run it right. Government's going to, they're going to get their own cronies in to make money here and there and to push things around.
Mhm. Yeah, bureaucracy is one of the real enemies of government.
100%.
Same with politics. Politics is the enemy of true government when you think about it.
I mean,
Mhm.
the company I work for, companies, they have so much overhead with all the chiefs on the top, and the people on the bottom don't make any money, but the chiefs make big money, and of course our bonuses are attached to how much money we make. So those on top make lots of money, those on bottom make very little money, and they're like, well, the company's losing money. Wait, how's the company losing money? We make record profits. It's because those on top made record profits. They multiple. It's just, if we really looked and paid attention to the big companies who are losing money, they're not losing money. It's just the CEOs are making all the money and killing the companies. But
Yeah, and it's also the fact that a lot of these utilities are
oh,
monopolies.
absolutely,
And
yeah.
here in this country, most of those monopolies are actually the state, right? Eon, that's owned by the German government, right? The water company and the gas company, both owned by the city government, right? So in reality, what you pay for gas, electricity, and water can be considered a tax.
Yeah.
Well, in the United States, yes, there is so much
Well,
taxes on
in this country, because it's owned by the government, right?
well,
If it's owned,
well, even then, because there are put taxes on everything we buy, and it's
that
hidden.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is so much that we talk about the price of gas, and if you looked and you saw how much taxes are getting paid to the
Hmm.
government into the state, the gas company, the little gas stations aren't making that much per gallon. They're
Hmm.
barely getting by. But the government's making money hand over fist. So everyone's making money. Of
Yeah.
course, the government's mad at the electric. That's another thing. A friend of mine, he has an electric car and a hybrid car, and then they want to give him taxes. Of course, he's a liberal Democrat. He's mad because they want to raise his taxes because he's not buying gas and he's driving a heavy. These electric cars are heavier than normal gas-powered cars, and they're not paying the street tax. They're not paying taxes to upcase of the street. And he's like, it's not my fault. You know, I
Hmm.
bought an economical car and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to pay somewhere because your car's a lot heavier. Well, why should I have to pay? Because I'm paying. Well, you have a gas car. No, your car is doing more damage to the street. Well, no, it's
Hmm.
not. Yes, collectively it is. It's everyone
Well,
wants to fight, but they don't understand. Everyone wants to. I want the government to take care of everyone, but I don't want it to be me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, you've also pointed out an interesting thing about the taxes. Like, in addition to the fact that, well, let's say I'm paying the 260 euros a month for gas, part of that is actually 19% VAT tax, right? And that goes to the federal government. So you're taxed upon taxes. And that's just one of the ways that the bureaucracy manifests itself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's
You, you,
and plus, like when you buy gasoline, you're paying like federal taxes, state taxes,
Mhm.
and the VAT tax on
Mhm.
top of that because it's a special fuel tax. And I'm not even talking about cigarettes. Cigarettes, oh my God, it's most of the price of cigarettes is actually tax, right? It's ridiculous.
yeah,
And
well,
that's extortion because when you if you were to weigh a pack of cigarettes, how much does it weigh? It weighs like next to nothing because it's technically just paper. It's paper made of tobacco leaves. That's what's actually inside them, and the, it's extortion because they get you addicted to it, and then you need it, and then they force you to pay the tax, whether you
yeah,
want to or not.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, let's send out good vibes. The Lady Spitfire, she's not feeling good. She's having hernia problems. So
Oh no.
everybody send her some healing vibes, and
Hmm.
hopefully she will get better. Least we can do. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I agree with you. All these things are taxes, propaganda, um, things to keep, the news to keep us in fear and keep us down. Mess with our minds continuously. Wayne just had a show about the Mandela effect again. He's done several shows about that, and the idea. But the thing is it keeps us in this confusion, and that doesn't lead us to higher consciousness if we're all worried about the next knickknack we can put on a wall, or if we can pay our bills because of the high taxes, or we're struggling and we're in depression because of it, and we're so how are you supposed to get into this higher um vibration, this higher self, the higher learning? You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're going downhill. I think the people that lived before us, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, were way more intelligent. And I'm not talking about the low man scrubbing the toilet bowl, but I'm talking about, anybody that had a lick of sense or went to schooling and could read and write had more wisdom and higher understanding and more conscious or common sense than anybody does today.
Well, I'd say one of the ways that you can raise your vibration and be free of like all this bullshit is just by associating with people of your own kind, with people on your own level of vibration, like you guys. And because of the internet, we've come to a point in our development where we can actually do that. In the past, you couldn't get around, interacting with the population at large. Whereas nowadays, you can be very discriminating about selecting with whom you associate and with whom you don't associate, right? Only thanks to the internet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, you're right.
Because like for the most part, I don't go out on the street or whatever. I can see what's happening there. I can hear what's happening there because I keep the window open during the summer, and it's everything that the news talks about, right? When you had the big immigration rush starting 2015, 2016, that's all you heard on the street was Arabic languages, Arabic sounding languages. Nowadays, all you hear is Russian. I can't tell the difference between Russian and Ukrainian, but I'm assuming it's Ukrainian. Yes, there is a legitimate reason why these people are here. They don't want to get sent to the war. So I get that, But, a lot of these people that are here for reasons of just, being able to collect money for nothing, so to speak.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are pissed off about that, and a lot of European countries have started turning the tide on mass immigration, like notably Denmark. which is actually cut off its border with Sweden. They've instituted border controls, and they're not allowing any more new immigrants, and they're actually starting to deport some of the existing ones that have failed to integrate or that have demonstrated a propensity for criminal behavior, because it's just out of hand. And even when you think about it from a global perspective, if mass immigration continues unabated, you're going to have massive areas of the globe, mostly in the global south, that are totally depopulated, that are not just ghost towns, but whole ghost countries. And, Europe, the smallest continent of all of them, becomes like so saturated with people that it literally, starts affecting the rotation of the Earth and discombobulates the whole spinning globe from just the weight of all the people accumulating in that one spot, right?
Yeah. Well,
that's if you believe in the globe theory.
Well, I agree, and I don't know if it's gonna, make the globe spin out of whack, but it will. It's like diluting a liquid. You have a poisonous liquid, and if you put too much, something else in it, water or something, it dilutes it enough that it ain't poisonous anymore. So if you have the German-speaking people there, and you have a German country with German beliefs, and then you dilute it with Islam, and you dilute it with Ukrainian, pretty soon you won't have a Germany that speaks German or has German beliefs or any of that. It won't be the German culture anymore. It'll be Islam and Ukrainian, and it'll be whatever group of people has dominated that country now.
Yeah, and here in my town, we did have an affair where, like, the chief imam of the Muslim church here, he was arrested actually for inciting violence in his sermons. He was inciting people to wage war against this country, essentially. So, which, I mean, the other part of that argument that I was saying about mass immigration is that it's going to cause depopulation in some parts, but overpopulation in other parts. And you're already seeing that in places like China, where there's been a huge influx of people into the cities from the countryside. So the countryside is like one big ghost town, and the cities are like these huge overpopulated megalopolises where things like disease can spread.
Yeah. Well, and people can be more controlled in a city. You can be, because you have to depend on everybody from outside the city for your food, water, shelter, your electricity. Everything comes from outside to inside the city. But when you really look at the big picture of it all, when you dilute that native population that may be rising in intellect, because we know that the Germans are very intuitive on invention, science, engineering, yes. And if you dilute it with a bunch of people from another country who their biggest thing is getting a camel to cross the street or something and haul a pack of whatever and maybe weave some material on a handmade loom, you're not really going anywhere. You're going backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Furthermore, a lot of these immigrants can't get jobs because they don't speak German. And that's the other thing people forget about, that in order to do anything in this country, you do have to speak German. Despite the fact that anybody who's anybody of importance will speak English, but you can't really count on that. Because at the end of the day, when you go to a store, a grocery store, you have to interact with like the cashier or whatever. She only speaks German, right?
Yeah.
So does the cop. So does everybody else.
Well, if you were here in America, they would hire that non-speaking person, and then they would hire another person to stand by them and interpret their words all day long.
Yeah. In the United States, you can take a driving license test in any language, any of the major languages, including Creole, which I don't think it's even a real language, but be that as it may, they bend over backwards for their immigrants over in the United States, which they don't do over here.
Yeah, that is true. Lucky, what do you see in your area? Who is coming into that area and dominating the population?
I don't see anything like that.
No.
Not a problem. It's all about peace. It's all about, everyone is good. I mean, Worcester is one of the safer cities in the state. Yes, they talk about different groups here or there, but honestly, day to day, I see no problems. I don't see
Mm-hmm.
any influx of non-English speakers. Everyone, I mean, yes, there are different people who speak different languages, but they know enough English to get by, to get through, and it's never really a big problem. There are the weirdest thing is a lot of the small little grocery stores that cater to small ethnic groups, no matter which ethnic group it is, they have big EBT signs on them. So I believe that's a lot of where it's going to. The EBT money, the welfare money is going to the small, bodegas. They call them bodegas in New York. It's the little tiny grocery stores that somehow we take food stamps here,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. But the big grocery
Bodega.
stores, yeah.
Bodega.
Very cool.
And then but I mean, I've heard grocery stores, some of them having empty shelves. Around here, we don't have too many empty shelves. I don't know. It just might be that I am in such a polyandic kind of life where I believe in positivity and goodness and manifesting positivity that I just walk around and kind of brings around with me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It just happens to be that only struggles I have is work and the idiots above me. Besides that, day to day, I get by fine. Gas price. If I want to buy gas, I can get gas at a 280, or I could pay 350. Why is there such a different extreme of gas prices? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have heard stores. I have heard complaining in my Facebook about why is this grocery store empty shelves? None of the produce sections are all empty. And I'm like, oh my God, I better go to the produce section, the one near my house, make sure I get some food. No, it's stocked. It's all full. Like, what is going on? Why is the one at the other side of the city has no produce, and the one the next in my part of the city has plenty of produce? I don't know. I have no idea what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. Sometimes I
Hmm.
feel like I'm living in two different timelines.
Well, I mean, I think it affects different places differently, but you're right.
It's the
Here,
same
I don't
city
have.
though. That's the problem. It's the same exact city.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
You have a big problem though, Rob, because you have to go far to go to a grocery store. You
Yeah.
live in a desolate because literally the East Coast United States has like more people in the East Coast of the United States. It's like 10 times more people actually, there are more people in the East Coast than the west of Mississippi. Um, the amount of people are basically in greater New York City area.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, they say that about 1/6 of the U.S. population lives within 300 miles of New York City.
Wow.
it's crazy. So around New York City has more people than east of the Mississippi River, except for California, which has more people than Canada does. But this here, there, it's just weird that you live in an area that is just desolate with people. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
if
and that's the thing too, is desolate with people. But I do notice that Spanish-speaking immigrants are moving in. I mean, even at my job, there's more people that are speaking Spanish all the time, and I feel kind of left. I'm, a little left out. They
Mm-hmm.
do speak. I mean, they're speaking English, but they speak Spanish amongst themselves too. And you just sit there like, well, I feel left out. But there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more of them. Used to be none. Now there's at least 4 or 5 guys that work, maybe even more, maybe 6 that work there that are are speaking Spanish more than English.
I understand.
So,
I understand.
but
'Cause
even when you go to the
yeah.
grocery stores and stuff too, you can tell. I walk down go to Walmart and people are talking Spanish talk all over the place. They're not speaking English either. So there you go.
Well, I'm also much more open-minded, and I also grew up in an area where people did speak Spanish and French, and I know, and I know a little bit here and there, so it doesn't bother me. I mean, maybe that's also exposure. My life is about, I mean, so many different ethnicities. So yes, I do work with Spanish people. I do work with African who speaks different African country, Nigerian and stuff like that. But never see it as a problem because it's always, they speak English well enough that it's never, if they're fluent in English as much as they'll speak their private language to each other, and they'll turn around and they'll speak to me, and it's not offensive to me because I know what they're saying sometimes. Also, I have an intuition about me, so that even if people speak another language, intuitively I know what they're talking about, and I don't worry about it. If people talking about me, I'll know they're talking about me. I know what they're saying, but I don't let them know that. But it's just like I said, maybe I'm a Pollyanna. Maybe I'm just so naive and so happy-go-lucky that I don't see these kind of things.
Could be. Break up the show a little bit here. As you see, I got a Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt on, people, and I hope you go out. Oh, there you got the Milky Way messenger. But if you want, you can go over to Nina's channel, and you can get your own Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt with my face on it. It says Robert B. and the Milky Way Soul Tribe on there. And it's just, you can get different varieties like this one here. And there's other ones that say Milky Way on, a whole bunch of different ones. It's for a limited time only. Go to Nita's thing, and you can get other things like Anacarana stuff, like this mug I got. There's shirts over there for Anacarana, but this is a limited time only where you can get a Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt with my pretty face on it. So with that, please go over there and get yours today before the end of the month. There's hoodies and sweatshirts, so stock up for winter. Give them, give them for Christmas gifts because that's important. Nina's merch at Streamlabs there. Here's the link right there. It's in the description below. There's mugs and there's all kinds of good stuff over there with my pretty picture on it. Get them while they last before she takes them down. And she did the hard work of putting them up. So support the Milky Way Soul Tribe. Support Nina. Get some Anacarana too. While you can. Okay? I hope everybody likes that. So good for that. Anyway, she says it ends August 31st. So you got till the end of August to get your own Milky Way shirt. Anyway, it'll be a collector's. Yes, collector's stuff. Thank you, Nina, for putting that up and doing all of that. We appreciate you greatly. Good for you and good for the Soul Tribe. Because otherwise we had those Milky Way Messenger shirts, like Lucky's got on. Lucky, show me your shirt.
Oh yeah, I got a few of these. Yeah, I got a few of these that's from back in the day.
In the day, but now the new is right here. Milky Way Soul Tribe. There you go. Get the new ones. Anyway.
Oh, I do. I have one of yours on too. It's actually.
There you go. It's doubled up. It's cold there, huh?
It's been a weird day. It's because yesterday it was such a storm. It blew in the cold air. So today was just I also live in Worcester, which the hills and everything. The cold air is now stuck here for a little while. So I mean, it's great. It's August though. It's weird because August should be the hottest. July was terrible, oppressive. But these last few days in August have been, Florida. I mean, fall like it's been. I love fall. It's like perfect. I'm like, wait, I love this weather, but what's going on?
Yeah. Same here too. At night it'll get down in the low 40s. I think the one night it was 42 degrees.
Wow, that's
crazy weather for July. I mean August. The high was like 69. like, oh my gosh, I think one day it got up to 65 at the high. I'm thinking, holy cow, I got to wear a jacket in the middle of summer.
Yeah, we're still in the throes of a heat wave here in Germany, and right now I got 4:37 in the morning and 28 degrees Celsius. 28 degrees Celsius. I think that's around 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, almost 90. I'm not exactly sure. You'd have to
See, that
calculate it.
that is the whole new world we're living in. They're keeping distracting us from all of these things. But I think in the end, we're our consciousness, our values are not gonna emerge on top. We're living this low life, and people who live by watching the news and following the script, we're going to be led down the wrong road. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm every day, no matter how much I want to get out of this system, and no matter how much I want to learn and manifest and be more than I am, I'm dragged down every day by
Don't
the
let
world.
yourself get dragged down. I mean, the system itself will come up with ways to drag you down. There are distractions, things like the news, politics, all that. Don't focus on that. Don't focus on any of that. If you knew that you were going to die within the hour, would you choose to voluntarily spend your time delving into these negative things? No.
Yeah.
So, why give it even 5 minutes, right?
Well, I know, but I get caught up in it. You listen to some stuff here and there, and then you get worried, and you're thinking one thing or another, and even with work and the world around you, but you're right. I go outside and I sit in a chair, and the birds are still chirping, the grass is still growing, life is good. And then as soon as you hit the world outside, you say, wow, people are worried about things, and things aren't so good, and and how is this affecting me? Well, right now it doesn't really affect me. I'm usually in a pretty good positive mood, but I feel like sometimes that I'm being led down there. Instead of spending my time maybe reading a good book, I'm watching the news when it seems to be repeated over and over and over, the same thing, and I think, wow, I just burned some brain cells on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's your problem, though, is that why are you spending time watching the news? Because it's easy. That's the thing. Sitting watching the news to find the information that they provide you to tell you what to think, it's easy. So that's what you're doing. Because you're doing the easy thing, you're being led down their path.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of watching something educational, something about history or something about the arts or whatever, because at the end of the day, most people's worst fears never come to fruition, and most disasters are never seen ahead of time. Disasters happen all the time, but most of the time they don't anticipate the one that's actually going to come, right? They're preparing for ones that never happen. I remember when I was a kid growing up in the 60s and 70s. I mean, back in the 70s, everybody was saying, oh, we're all going to die of pollution and global cooling. Then it became global warming, right? All of a sudden. We still haven't, yes, we're having issues with the climate, but that's because of climate manipulation done by various governments. But it's or nuclear war, right? In the 80s, everybody was afraid of nuclear war. Well, has it happened? No.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. And will it happen? I don't know. I mean, they're talking we're way closer now than we've ever been, but yet I haven't seen one nuclear bomb go off. Not a one.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And who's most likely to use the nuclear bomb? Well, who actually has used the nuclear bomb? Not once, but twice in a war, and that's the United States.
Yeah.
Well, no. United States has far more dangerous weapons than the nuclear bombs. Believe me, the thing about the nuclear bombs is it's a peacekeepers because it's so scary. Those scary nuclear bombs. No, fuel air missiles are far more scary. Those bunker busters, those are much more destructive for a civilization than any nuclear bomb, because nuclear bomb will poison the air and blah blah blah. No one wants to use them because of the collateral damage. While these
Hmm.
really nasty bombs that can destroy a city, literally destroy a city, and do minimal damage to the infrastructure outside, so your farmland is safe, your city is destroyed. The United
Hmm.
States using a nuclear bomb would not be your problem. The United States using some of the stuff that we don't talk about.
Hmm.
But that means I do pay attention to some things because I know the sources. If it's on the news, if it's on public, you're not going to know too much. But there's information available in sideways but from trusted sources. Hell, if you really want to know about American government, you go to the BBC or the the Arabic Eye. There are English speaking. China has English speaking, which they talk about United States.
Oh, Al
You got
Jazeera.
Al Jazeera. That's the one.
Hmm.
Al
Yeah.
Jazeera, CBC, BBC, all these things. Australia. They'll talk about the States. You don't want to find out Australian weather. I mean news on Australian news sites. You want to find American news on Australian sites. You don't want
Hmm.
to find English news on BBC. You want to find American news on BBC. It's the way you find out about your country is ask how the other countries are talking about us. They know the information because they
Hmm.
filter through it and they go, "This is the truth." Because
Hmm.
they'll talk about it because we know what the thing is. This is how you get information. You don't go by you know your sources.
Hmm.
Hell,
Another good
don't
one is IRNA, Islamic Republic News Agency. That's
yes.
the Iranian
But
source.
I
Really?
mean,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
again, because they won't talk about their own country bad, but they'll tell you what the United States is. But
Hmm.
they'll tell you unfortunate truths because they have to back it up because some of it is going to be conspiracy, but there's plenty of bad stuff that the United States does that they can just go, okay, yep, this is the truth, we can prove it. Hey, United States, you're bad, and here's why. And of course,
Hmm.
we're never going to talk about it because we're kind of ashamed of it. Yeah,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
that takes brains and takes work. And you can't just turn your TV
Hmm.
on. You can't just turn your cable because it's not going to come from your cable. It's going to come from doing a little bit of internet searches and maybe making not national security NSA agent a little bit. Watch you a little bit harder. You know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yes, these things are
Exactly.
tracking us everywhere we go. As long as you're
Hmm.
aware of it, you know it, and you're okay with that. It
Yeah,
is. It
that's
is
the
what it is.
problem. Yeah, the media is just a system of propaganda. It's a weapon used by the state against the working class, basically, and the middle class. No other way to explain it. It's not for our benefit; it's for their benefit.
Everything
That's
is
why
for
the
their
news
benefit.
is yeah. That's why the news is free, right? That's why you don't have to pay for television in the United States, but you
That's
do have to
true.
pay for it over here.
Mhm.
Unless you can prove you don't use it. Yeah, because I know I did have a friend who was in Wales who basically didn't have to pay the TV tax because they didn't have a TV, and someone had to come in and look in every room to prove that they didn't have a TV, and they still got the tax every.
Hmm.
They still had to prove that they don't have a TV, and not to get the TV tax. It's They just
Yeah,
forget it. I'll pay it. I'll pay it. I don't
it's
care anymore. I'll pay it because I don't deal with this bullshit anymore.
here in Germany. It's 55 euros a month, and I
Wow.
got out of it. Yeah, I got out of paying it using various creative methods that I'm not going to get into here. But
And
yeah,
see, that's
rest
the thing.
assured, I'm not going to pay 55 euros a month for bullshit because I don't watch any German TV channels. I don't.
That's funny too because we don't use my house. We got rid of cable, but we have the internet,
Hmm.
and of course they're all kind of like, oh no, we can get you discount. I'm like, I don't watch it. It's not even bothersome. I have Paramount Plus. Paramount is it's just one of the different streaming services, Paramount, and it's like Netflix, and for free through my telephone service. And I'm like, that's nice, that's great. And I don't use it, and it's free. I have Paramount Plus until December something, at which point I'm probably gonna delete it soon, because I don't need it. After December, they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna start charging you, and that's when I can cancel it. But I think I'm gonna be able to cancel it soon. I'm gonna wait till November, way in before, and say, okay, now can I cancel it? Because it's free. Like, what are you worried about? It's free. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's how they get
Yeah.
you. They want me to watch Paramount Plus, but I'm like, oh, that's great. I could watch old Star Trek. Great, Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I don't use it. I'm just not. I mean, I'd rather watch some interesting, little thing, been half an hour, and then go outside, take a walk, or grab a book and read a book.
Or
I'm so.
nowadays these boxed DVD sets are so cheap. You could just get the
Oh,
Star Trek boxed DVD set, get all of them in crystal clear resolution, I might add, and be done with it, and not have to worry about streaming it ever again.
yeah.
That's
I
kind of what I
bought a
decided.
DVD player for my computer just so that I could play all the DVDs that I bought at the doll store.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I decided a long time ago, years ago, was, do I want to go one way or the other? And I decided, just like you said, so I just decided to buy, series, and for what I would pay the Netflix or whatever, cable or whatever, I could buy a series with 20 or 30, sometimes 40 hours, 40 hours worth of viewing time. And guess what? I have them forever.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Forever.
Yep.
And then if I want to do something, I can sell them. But there's people who buy these things, they put them on the cloud, and then they pay monthly to keep them. Oh, I got that whole series on the cloud. Yeah, well, you pay, every month to keep it on the cloud, and the day you quit paying, it's gone. It disappears. You can never get it back. And it's gone, gone, gone. You can't sell it to anybody. Even if I have a series right now that's in DVD, I can sell it for something. Somebody will give me something for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have some of those DVDs from I have some Japanese DVDs and stuff like that are, I guess, worth some money because they were old. And that's the one thing about having a Thai wife, that I learned how to. Back in the day, we'd watch movies together, and we'd watch it in Thai without subtitles because I'm just a masochist sometimes. I wanted to learn her language and didn't do a very good job. And so we're watching. She passes out during the movie, and she wakes up. She goes, "What's going on?" And I explained to her what's happening. And she's watching the movie, and she turns to me and says, "How did you know? Did you turn subtitles on?" I'm like, "No, I'm watching the movie." She says, "But it's not in English at all." I'm like, "Well, if you pay attention to the context, you know what's happening." I mean, I watched a Thai horror movie. I don't like horror movies, but I watched a Thai horror movie, which called Shudder. It was fantastic because it wasn't bloody gore. It was all psychological. The guy was haunted by this ghost of a girl he accidentally hit, and it was just such a mind numbing because he was just everything was going wrong and he didn't understand because she was manipulating his life, but just enough to drive him crazy. And it was just, but she said, "You can't understand because they were talking about it." And I said, "But the context is there." She goes, "You shouldn't be able to know what was going on, And I explained everything. He was a college photography student, and it was just so funny that I was able to absorb what was going on, not by the words spoken, but by the actions of the movie. And that's how it was a good movie too, is because you could tell there was multiple ways of understanding what was going on.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that also might be my problem because I can context. People can speak other languages, and I know the context. That was my life. That's the problem with me, is that I'm open to everything, and I'm just happy-go-lucky. Now, I guess that's my name. You're lucky. Yeah, great.
Well, see, on some level, you do speak Thai because it's in the collective unconscious, right?
Yes,
and if even one person on the planet speaks that language, you, on some level, speak it as well, right?
That's
because
unfortunately
consciousness is not local, right? Your consciousness is not local to your brain only, and there is an aspect of it that functions kind of like the cloud, where if it's on the cloud, it's accessible to everybody.
and
We
if
may.
you're yes, you have to be open to it. That's the thing. And that yes, I went to Thailand with my wife, and only my wife and my nephew, of course my son was too young at the time, spoke English. No one else spoke English, and I was happy and no problems. I wasn't uncomfortable. I should have been, no one speaking English. If something happened, I'd be screwed. But no, everything's going great and no problems at all. I have no problem. Her mother was speaking to me in Thai, and I understood enough to get by. Okay, yeah, everything. And that's one reason why my wife's family appreciated me, because I was out of water. I was a fish out of water in her family home, and able to just adapt and just exist and try to not be an outcast or whatever. Try to blend in when I have no idea what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's doable because, like I said, on some level you understand it
Mhm.
without even realizing it, right?
That's
Because you're able to pick up on other clues, but also, like I said, there
like
is an aspect of your soul that's connecting with that hall of records, so to speak. I've had that happen to me where, back in my drinking days, especially under the influence of alcohol,
oh
if
yeah.
somebody would give me like a page of Russian text, I would look at it and I would just like my eyes would fizz out and I would see it in clear English. And I'd be able to read it and get the gist of it and then tell them about it despite not being able to read Russian, right? Or, I had a black and white TV, many decades ago. And under certain circumstances, I was able to make it look like it was color, because it would start out from the edges, would get color from the edges, and then towards the center. And if you just kept focused on it, it would just be completely color, right? But you had to maintain that particular angle without changing it, kind of like the Magic Eye books.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's perception and it's what you're tuning into, and so it is with the media. If you're only going to be focused on negative predictions and fear
Yeah.
and then that's what your life is going to reflect. And if
That
you're going to surround yourself with people that are negative, then you're going to be negative too, right?
Yeah.
Because think about it. Do any of these super multi mega millionaire rich people, do they hang out with total losers? No. They hang out with other millionaires, right? They
Right.
hang out with their own kind. And so we have to be doing the same exact thing in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think you brought up a good point. I want to point that out about, the collective consciousness. And that's the thing when we start paying more attention to the TV and things, the gobbledygook that's out there, we lose focus on paying attention to the collective consciousness, where we should be really, that should be our focus, feeding off of all these other ideas and people. But we're never taught that. We're taught that you're an individual, you need to learn, and we're going to teach you what you need to know in these public schools and whatever, colleges and everything. It's a memorization thing, and you don't learn anything. You
Mm.
memorize everything, and you never tap into the greater perspective of what's going on in the world, the real news, the
Yeah,
real
because
stuff.
you don't really think about it on your own. You're just regurgitating the opinions of somebody else, somebody
Yeah,
you respect. And that's a big mistake. You really have to think your own thoughts and, not recycle thoughts, because usually what gets recycled used to be called garbage, right? So stop recycling garbage. Stop recycling thoughts. Think your own thoughts. I mean, for me, it kind of comes natural because I've always been labeled a weirdo for whatever reason. Uh, you know, First of all, I do have a rather unusual national origin. There's not too many Czechoslovakians living in the United States. Back when I was living in the United States, most people, you would tell them you're from Czechoslovakia, they'd be like, "Where's that? Never heard of it." You know, But so I've had that designation over me, hanging over me like a sword of Damocles my whole life. So for me to identify with that is not that difficult. I have no problem with being called an outcast, a weirdo, or wrong think, or heretic, or I don't care. I'm still going to think my own thoughts.
But how many people know what sort of Damocles is?
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
And that's one of the things that I've used that in a meeting, and I could have heard a pin drop. And I'm like, no one has any idea what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
It was the most thing, and I had to explain it. And I'm like, I think I've lost. I've lost a meeting. Let me go back into the meeting because I was just talking about the dangers of just everything looks great and everything's everything's but there is something it's over our heads and we've got to fix it now, and it seems great, but it's not. So it is, and they were just like, what the sort of what are you talking? Oh no. And
the minute you have to explain the sword of Damocles, you've lost.
Lost the whole story. Lost the whole meaning of the meeting.
Yeah. That's tough. But that's the thing. Most people are conformists because most people just want to go along to get along, and they're still gonna think their own thoughts, except that they're not gonna talk about them. And by not talking about them, they're not gonna realize that other people might be thinking the same exact things, right?
But that's the thing is, we are taught that we're not supposed to think outside the box. And when we do, people don't want to be a part of that. So it's like, oh, you're the strange guy. You don't think you ain't conforming to the system.
It's never been the conformist that has gotten society forward. It's always been the person thinking outside the box. It's always been the weirdo, the nonconformist.
Yes, and that's exactly right. But in the picture, when you go and you're a perfect example of that. You're thinking outside the box. The people didn't say, I'm going to embrace what you're saying. That's just wonderful. I never thought of that. Oh, this is great, until you got older. But sure, they're thinking of you like, the book, the news, the teacher said, everybody says that dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. And you're telling me they may have not lived that long ago. I don't believe you. What's your proof?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of proof. Just look at the fact that every single dinosaur bone out there is a plaster cast of an alleged original. And when you really start delving into it, you can't find the originals. So what are they making plaster casts of? And every one of those plaster casts is made of reconstituted chicken bones, right? Yeah. And it's one big company in China that makes them. You can actually buy it online from them. You can buy like a T-Rex skeleton fossil, right? Complete.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They'll find one or two bones, and then they create a whole new dinosaur out of those two bones and tell you it lived 65 million years ago, and nobody questions it. And if you do, you're the odd man out. And I love the dinosaur thing because people can really relate to that. It's a real good one to use on people because they live 60. You and me, nobody around.
Nobody can imagine that. No, that's.
You can't wrap your head around 65 million years, more or less 10,000 years.
Yeah, or even.
We can't even wrap our head around the last 500 years or 200 years.
Exactly.
It's our scope of consciousness.
Exactly. It's just like, with the moon landing, right? Usually, most people get it when you explain it to them in terms that they can understand. So far, up until the moon landings occurred, humanity has only been able to get into low Earth orbit, which was about 200, 300 miles above the surface. So let's say the typical distance from the floor to the ceiling is 250 centimeters. And let's say 1 centimeter equals 1,000 miles, right? So up until 1969, humanity and the aviation industry was making flea jumps like 2 millimeters off the ground, like this much, right? Then all of a sudden, in 1969 to 1971, they went all the way from the floor to the ceiling and did that 6 times. And then afterwards, they couldn't do it again. And we're still making just little flea jumps, 2 to 3 millimeters off the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the moon landings. That shows you just how impossible and improbable they were, right? And I have similar analogies about the existence of dinosaurs and all that. You know, in all likelihood, they didn't exist. They never existed.
Well,
And you know, if somebody comes on that one archaeologist, he comes on Joe Rogan or whatever quite a lot, and he's like, oh, he'll get some kind of rock or whatever, and he says, well, yeah, that's the second toe bone of a blah blah ceratops. You know, like, what? How do you know? How do you know this, right? You know, the human body has like 268 bones in it. Do you know every single one of those bones? Do you know which one's the left toe, the right? I mean, no. Nobody knows that.
nobody knows that. Yeah.
I disagree.
Really?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, yes, there are plenty of real dinosaur bones. Yes, a lot of them in museums are plaster casts. I agree with that. But South Dakota has fields of dinosaur bones. And why would this be able to tell a toe bone from certain things? A person, you could give a bone to a lot of biologists, and they could tell a difference between a small dog and a cat by just looking at the bone structure. It's not for the layman, but the educated people can tell. But again, educated people, you know, and sometimes you're going to trust. Also, in the whole scheme of things, dinosaurs don't mean anything to daily life. So it's just a
No.
fun entertainment. That's at the end of the day is when dinosaurs existed, it means nothing. Whether we landed on the moon or not, it doesn't mean anything. The shape of the earth, my daily life, it doesn't mean anything. While
No.
wars, famine, disease, those things do mean the daily
Yeah.
domain government. So sometimes you
Mhm.
got to shift. Yes, the dinosaurs in the shape of the earth and the moon landing, it's all fascinating entertainment. But although it's built as science, on day-to-day life, it doesn't mean much as you know, taking care, eating, you know, being healthy, and you know, getting back and forth to get work to get my money so that I can buy food, shelter, and medical supplies.
Yeah, I get that. Oh, yeah, I totally get that. And I admit that I'm no expert to be, you know, criticizing or denying the existence of dinosaurs. It's just that, you know, that's one of the possibilities I'm entertaining.
It's
And I
part of
do get
entertainment.
I do get the fact that a lot of these things are irrelevant. But the reason I'm interested in a lot of these things, especially like the flat Earth theory, is because it's so heavily censored, right? You know, if there was really nothing to it, then why censor it so aggressively? Why is it more censored than racist content on YouTube? Or, I don't know, why is it censored to begin with?
I honestly, the funny thing about conspiracy theories is I think censorship is part of the conspiracy theory to
Reinforce it.
reinforce it, because the conspiracy theory, a lot of it progresses because us versus them. And
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
biggest conspiracy theories, I
mm-hmm.
think, are full of government operatives. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the truth is the earth is not round. It's also not flat. It's somewhere in between. And we'll never know because the conspiracy theories that are so big are going to manipulate us back and forth. And the truth is going to be hidden in the middle somewhere. Always. The truth is what you're never going to find because it's somewhere in the middle. But those who
Mm-hmm,
pay attention go, wait a second. Here, I know this. This is true. This is concrete. Where do we go from here? But
mm-hmm.
everything else, because I mean, the UFO thing. We now know that a lot of the UFO are, you know, some are real, but a lot of it are government vehicles that they want to go. No,
Mm-hmm.
UFOs don't look. No UFOs. They're not real. Oh, those are real. Those are really UFOs. Those are all real UFOs because they know they're going to come out. So they got to have a way of, you know, hiding what the governments are doing. Oh, the
I
UFOs,
mean,
don't worry about it.
I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that UFOs are absolutely real because I've seen one, right? But as to what they are, I mean, you can't tell just by looking at them or by any of the phenomena associated with them, including up to and including alien abductions. You don't know what that's about. You don't know where those beings come from, or if they're actual beings at all, right?
Yep.
If those aren't just screen memories implanted through hypnosis.
That
I mean,
also is a big thing where our memories are so plastic that
yeah.
we can easily be manipulated. Our own memories, we can, as you remember it from your past, you actually change it each time. Every time you remember something from the past, you change it a little bit, and that's the weird thing about our brains. Our human brains are plastic, and why is it like that? Is it advantage to that? Maybe that's why we don't live so long, because at the end, we won't have our childhood memories will be all made up and fake. But who knows?
See, I look at it like instead of going to school and learning all these facts and getting taught all this memorization stuff and then trying to figure things out, we should be able to we should be taught how to tap into the collective consciousness. We should be able to, but then they couldn't hide the truth from people. You would just tap in and say, oh yeah, moon landing was fake. Oh yeah, the dinosaurs only lived 100,000 years ago. Oh yeah, I
See,
tapped into the collective consciousness and I know how to speak 20 different languages now.
well, see that, yeah. If the education system was better, then they would actually be sabotaging their own existence by teaching kids this, right? Because I
Yeah,
went to a pretty good school, except that happened to be a Catholic school, right? Where although they feed you a lot of information, they also feed you a lot of bullshit, right? Which
indoctrination.
indoctrination, like where all other religions are at best half truths, and the only way to salvation is through Christ, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, and if you don't go that way, oh boy, you're in a heap of trouble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
be that as it may, you don't really gain much by educating people better. What the trend towards homeschooling, I think that's a pretty good system, in that there's actually going to be more diversity in education because you're going to have more people participating in the educational system, right?
yes,
Instead of having centralized education that's under a centralized control, in a centralized environment where the kids could potentially be exposed to bullying or exposed to stuff that you don't want them to exposed to, like drugs or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's actually better because a parent is more likely to teach their kid the truth than the state, and they're more likely to teach them to think for themselves and not what to think, but how to think. Think about it in terms of think about everything in terms of who benefits, right? Who benefits usually financially? Who benefits from this financially? Who makes money off this?
That's the
yep,
truth. That's the truth. That's
It's
that's
just
that. Yeah.
It's just like Facebook, right? Facebook is free. Well, that means you're the product because why else is Zuckerberg so insanely rich? Well, because he's taking your information and just selling it to the government.
And you know what he's doing now? He's got glasses, Ray-Ban glasses that are now going to be linked to Meta, Facebook, whatever the hell it is, the company that Facebook is.
Meta,
I
yeah,
think that is crazy. So rather than
yeah.
saying, the Amazon word, they're going to use Meta to talk to the thing. And they saw it. I saw the YouTube. It was on a commercial on YouTube, and I'm like, they're on a motorcycle talking to Meta, and I'm like, what the hell is this all about? And I watch because half the time with YouTube is I have it playing in the background when I'm doing something else, and I
hmm
kept saying Meta. I'm like, wait, Meta's Facebook. Why is this person on a motorcycle talking to Meta, no helmet? And I'm like, what is going on?
hmm hmm
he's
That
got the
that
Yeah,
meta
scares me.
glasses.
The Meta glasses, yes, because they used to be Google glasses, but those were an abysmal failure because they were too expensive. Well, guess what? They put on Ray-Ban, so now they can do a premium price, but they got to lower the price because computer has been miniaturized now, and it's we live in a strange society. Honest to
Yeah.
God.
See, that's what I says. It's all about the products and things to get you hooked into the system, so you don't want to think about that. Tapping into the higher consciousness, tapping into the Akashic, tapping into the collective. You got to tap into the internet. You got to
Hmm.
throw everything out and learn and know what. Hey, Meta, how many days are in a year? You don't have to think about it. Learn about it. Hey, Meta, you just kind of like, hey Siri, or hey, whatever, Alexa, whatever it is, you're asking that. You don't have to think or remember. Hey, what's my phone number? Hey, what's so and so's phone number?
Hmm.
People don't remember that. I can remember numbers from 20 years ago, but I can't remember yesterday's number or my own.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
how strange is that? But anyway, let's wrap this up. And Max Vision Remote View is on now. Go check them out. Link is in the comments below. Dalibor, what do you got to say over this? The whole
Well,
thing. Sum it up.
well, I would say this is a a war for your consciousness. That's the real war that's going on. It's a war for your focus, right? And what you focus on is what the future trends are actually going to be, and they're keeping track of what you're focusing on, what we're all focusing on. They're watching what videos we watch. They're watching which websites we visit. So they roughly know a lot more about us individually than we even realize. So be really careful about what you expose yourself to, because it's not just going to affect your consciousness, but it's also going to affect how the government starts treating you eventually. Because they know all these things. There's no way you can keep a secret from them if you're on the internet. So with that out of the way, I would say focus on just the positive. Don't concentrate on negative stuff. Doesn't really make sense. Uh, because most of the negative stuff that you concentrate on doesn't happen. Doesn't wind up. Instead, you're just bringing yourself down. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lucky?
I think the most important thing is that you have to be your own best advocate. Yes, you can think about the future, you can think about the past, but don't make it your name brand. Don't make it your focus. I mean, your major focus. You can think about the past, you can think about the future, but don't make it your your title. It's day to day. We have a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of times people tell us things, but really most important thing is that you have to stop, take everything off the table, and think to yourself, what is important to me? What do I need right now? And focus on that for now. When things get terrible, as they tend to do when you watch and listen to other things and other people, you got to think, okay, what do I need right now? And usually it's pretty simple. Usually you figure that, wait a second, this is what I really need. And sometimes it may be a little work. I know it's some days like today. What do I need right now? Well, I need dinner, but do I really want to make dinner, or do I want to just go to Burger King and make it easier? And when I went to Burger King and made it easier, and I got this horrible Sprite, fiery strawberry Sprite, which has got cayenne pepper in it, and I hate spicy things, but because I bought it, I finished it. But that's the thing is, what do I need? I needed to eat something, and what I really should have done is rather than going to Burger King, went to the grocery store and said, okay, what could I make easily? Got that, and then made it myself, and been much better off than eating fiery, spicy strawberry Sprite, which I still couldn't understand what the hell they made that for. And why'd I drink it? Because I'm not going to waste it, because wasting is irresponsible. And that's from my parents. My parents taught me that, and it's really messed up everything, my
Mhm.
existence.
Well, I had this discussion with a friend of mine about our parents and their parents and their parents before them. And, they believed in something and pushed it on to us. And they didn't know why they believed it because their parents had pushed it on to them. And so you're getting the system of, hey, this is why this is like this, or this is what you should believe, and blah blah blah, and they teach it to you, and we never, until now, we're waking up and we're starting to question those things, like, well, why did you take me to religious classes when you didn't really believe in that yourself? Well, everybody else was doing it and my parents did it, and everybody, well, so because your parents did it and they were forced into it, then you were forced into it, and then you forced me into it. You see the chain of events there. And you told
Actually, in my case, me and my brother got sent to Catholic schools because my parents thought that it was the better opportunity for us because they themselves were denied that opportunity under communism. Because I was born in a communist country, right, where that was forbidden.
Yep.
There was no possibility of a Catholic education. There was only state. Yeah. That's it.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree. I just use that for an example because a lot of people can relate to that. But I mean, there's a lot more to it. Like, when I was growing up, when I graduated high school, and they were like, well, now go out and find yourself a woman, get married, have a couple kids, go to work, and buy a house, pay taxes, and then retire. There's your life all set up. It's like, what? Oh, what about traveling or seeing the world? No, your father's seen. He was in the Navy. He's seen the whole world. He says this is the best place. Just go get a job, get married, have some kids, and yada, yada, yada. What? There's no fun? No, it's just school, and then you get a job, and you go to work every single day. Oh.
See, back then, in the 1940s and in the 1950s, the USA really was the best place to live in. No doubt about that. But a lot has changed since then. I wouldn't move to the U.S. even if you paid me, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Their parents told them these things, and now we're getting told these things, and then we're supposed to tell our kids these things and push those beliefs on them, and that's the whole thing. It's a chain cycle. It's time. I believe it's time to break that cycle. Like you said, the homeschooling is going to be better than the public education because you're going to be able to objectively put in some of your own beliefs versus, here, memorize this, we'll take the test.
Because there's more different teachers, right, that are not all under a centralized control. So once all these kids grow up to become adults and meet each other, it's going to be a lot more of an interesting discussion than instead of them coming into the marketplace and all being programmed with the same propaganda.
Yes, absolutely. And so basically, in order to get to the new world, we're going to have to all think out of the box. That's what the whole show is. You use your consciousness, get out of the box, stop thinking about what you're programmed to think, question everything, and then find your own truth, because that's all that matters. If you don't believe that, go watch the Wonder Woman movie. I just watched it the other day, and everything was always boiled down to is the truth. The truth overwhelms everything, but you have to go out and find it and look for it. And when you find the truth, no matter what else is out there, it overrides. It's more stronger than anything else out there. Is the
truth. That's the Czech motto, actually, is Pravda vítězí, which means truth wins.
Yes, the truth wins. The truth wins. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Here or not, I'm sure you're headed over to Max Vision's class, and here is the link right here. It's in the chat. Check that out. Tomorrow, go over to Nina's show. check out, she's got the Sunday show, the Sunday Live with the Occult Roundtable. That's going to be an interesting one. Go check that out. And I will be on the following Sunday, the 18th. I think it's the 18th I'll be on. So check that out. And if you want, go over and get some of your own Milky Way Soul Tribe merch right there on the Streamlabs Nina the Mystic's website. It is over there. You can get your own shirts just like this, or with the Robert V on the, who wouldn't want my pretty face on their chest with the Milky Way Soul Tribe. Anyway, check that out. Get your own shirt before the 31st of August when she discontinues, and they will be no more. So thank you guys for coming on tonight. I appreciate both of you. We'll do this again sometime. Soon, I'm sure.
Yep.
But with that, everybody, go out, do something nice for somebody. Do something nice for yourself. It's more important now to be awake, find the truth, and be the frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love y'all. Peace, everyone.